Well, guess what? Donald Trump is still tearing mess up. And I know you guys have heard that he has fired. So y'all know what he do. He fired people when he don't get his way, honey. He done fired the labor and statistics chief. Now, if y'all don't know who that is, those are the people that analyze trends in the workforce, y'all. Let's get into this bullshiggity right now. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess.
President Trump firing the top official behind the government's jobs numbers. It is a stunning and an unprecedented move in the United States, coming just hours after the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is around the world the most trusted gold standard of jobs reporting numbers, issued a report that revised job growth, showing that job growth in the United States had slowed to a near halt over the past 3 months.
Mr. President, why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think our numbers were wrong.
The jobs report today were rigged.
I think so. I think you'll see some very interesting information come out. But you have to have honest reports. And when you look at those numbers, or when you look at just before the election, and then after the election, they corrected it by 800,000 or 900,000 jobs. Yeah, I would say so.
Of course, just to be clear, that revision he's talking about under Biden didn't happen after the election. It happened months before it. And here are some more facts. Erica McEnterharfer is a 20-year U.S. government veteran. She was confirmed to run the BLS by the Senate with overwhelming bipartisan support. Senator J.D. Vance at the time, of course, backed her, voted for her. And to be clear, her termination tonight is for political reasons. There's no evidence the jobs numbers were manipulated as Trump is claiming. There's no one credible or serious who's saying any such thing. Today's report was bad. It did show bad numbers, not because the numbers were cooked, but because there was weakening in the economy, in large part over that 3-month period with all the uncertainty and the constantly changing tariffs and threat of 160% tariffs at some point because of the tariffs. And the chief global strategist at Principal Asset Management sums it up by writing this: the downward revisions to the past 2 months inflicts a major blow to the picture of labor market robustness. What's more concerning is that with the negative impact of tariffs only just starting to be felt, the coming months are likely to see even clearer evidence of a labor market slowdown. Now, the negative impact of tariffs only starting to be felt, we'll see because the numbers keep changing. But what happened over those past few months since Liberation Day was Trump's own doing. But of course, tonight he's firing the messenger. And as we've seen in the past, when the numbers were good, right, those very months that have now been revised downwards originally looked pretty good. And that was good for Trump politically. He wanted the world to know about them then. 30 days ago, the White House was celebrating the jobs numbers before they were revised downward today. They called it a June boom. And White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt posted on X, for the 4th month in a row, jobs numbers have beat market expectations with nearly 150,000 good jobs created in June. And even during Trump's first administration, just listen to then Press Secretary Sean Spicer when he was talking about jobs numbers that made Trump look good.
I talked to the president prior to this, and he said, to quote him very clearly, "They may have been phony in the past, but it's very real now."
Of course, everyone laughed then, harder to laugh about things like that now. The truth is they weren't phony before Trump took office the first time. They aren't phony now. They weren't phony when he was in office. And casting doubt on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is relied upon in the United States and frankly around the world by government, private entities, businesses, all around the world, that can destroy trust in American institutions and in government statistics, which threatens the very core of what makes America the greatest, biggest, and most respected economy in the world. The United States puts out a jobs report every month, whether it's good or not. It does rely on some estimates. It revises the reports based on new data. And when you see big major changes like you saw today, it comes when there's a major shift in the economy. And what happened on Liberation Day is the definition of major. And the BLS is an independent agency. It functions regardless of who the president is. Hundreds of people are involved in that data. You can't rig and cook the books. Yet the president of the United States is now putting question marks around one of the great independent institutions in America because he didn't like the numbers.
Going forward,
Why should anyone trust the numbers?
Well, that's
And
the
if
big
you're-
thing. You're right. No, you're right. Why should anybody trust numbers? So you know what I did? I fired her.
Right.
Why should anybody trust the numbers? He should be proud that the United States has the most respected numbers and statistics people believe in, unlike China, where they say, oh, things are so great and nobody believes them because they know that the numbers aren't real there. Jeff Zeleny is out front live at the White House to begin our coverage. And Jeff, this is a major escalation in Trump's effort to shape the government in his image, right? When you talk about firing people for political purposes, the first person that comes to mind is not going to be the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Here we are. What more are you learning?
Aaron, we are learning that the president was troubled by the economic numbers, as we saw, and for several hours said nothing. That was unusual in and of itself, as his top economic advisors were trying to explain away how the numbers were not as bad as some analysts were saying. It's particularly the revisions, I'm told, in May and June that really got the president's attention and caused anger. So he decided to do something he cannot do with Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. He can fire her. He asked his aides if he could get rid of her, and they said yes. She does serve at the pleasure of the president. She was appointed, of course, by President Biden. But as you said, she was confirmed in the Senate by a vote of 86-8. That does not happen routinely. It was J.D. Vance, but also Marco Rubio, now the Secretary of State. So there is no sign in her history that there's any type of politics involved here. In fact, these are always apolitical reports. But the narrative that was being set in that the economy was not as good as the president would like was not acceptable to the president. So he started a new narrative today. Rigged numbers. Where does that sound? It sounds familiar, right? He said that that the process was cooked. So we asked the president on the South Lawn just a short time ago, as he left the White House to head to his Bedminster golf resort for the weekend, what evidence is there that the numbers are rigged? And he did not point to any new evidence. So the bottom line here is this is going to set a precedent that these numbers may not be believable. But is Congress going to investigate? Some former members of the BLS, are saying that Congress should investigate. Of course, Congress is largely at recess, so the Senate is still in town. We will see. But Aaron, for all of the firings, this rings a bit different because it's the reputation of the U.S. But the bottom line, the economic numbers are what they are. And that does not change at all, regardless of who is leading the BLS. Aaron?
No, it absolutely doesn't. And of course, lack of confidence, such a concern. Thank you, Jeff Zeleny.
Sure.
And out front now, Neel Kashkari, President and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. And President Kashkari, I appreciate your time tonight. I mean, an unprecedented firing of the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The jobs report was obviously very disappointing. What's your reaction to this response? Bad jobs report, fire the head of the jobs numbers.
Well, I have to, I can't really comment on the president's personnel decisions. That's up to the president. We at the Fed obviously lean on and rely on the best economic data we can get, both from government sources like the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and private sector sources to inform us in the economy. And so, we want the best data we possibly can get. Now, I'm not that surprised that the labor market is slowing. The data was worse than I had expected, but when tariffs go up, you expect prices to go up and the economy to slow. And we're seeing both of those effects. Goods prices are going up and the economy is slowing. And that's a real challenge for the Fed and for any central bank.
So you talk about needing to trust the numbers as you make decisions at the Fed, right? At the Fed, the decision about interest rates, nothing more important for the economy. So the president today said that the reason he's firing the head of the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is that she was manipulating the jobs data for, quote, political purposes. Do you see any evidence of that there was politically motivated manipulation of the data?
Well, the data that I've looked at, which is both the BLS data, private sector data, and then we talk to companies all across the country, it all basically says the same thing, that companies have been very cautious about hiring because of all of the uncertainty that we've been under. If you look at the wage growth, both private and government measures of wage growth of the average worker in America, wage growth has also been gradually declining. So all of these together point to the same thing, which is a gently softening labor market. And so that tells me that's probably what's really happening in the economy.
So I guess if when he uses the word rigged and scam, I guess it would assume that everybody's in on it. Certainly not just the BLS. Yeah, and I'm not trying to be tongue in cheek about it, but I'm just making a point. Obviously, you're saying this is consistent with all the other data sources you're looking at. So Trump is celebrating the resignation of one of your colleagues, one of the 7 members of the Fed's Board of Governors, 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞. Obviously, she happened to be a Biden appointee, unexpectedly just stepping down early. So you had the firing of the BLS today, then this happened. And perhaps they weren't intended to be related, but here they are happening the same day. Trump's going to get the vacancy to fill here. But as I said, he just said, he's celebrating this, saying that she wasn't willing to lower interest rates like too late Powell, as he refers to the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So what do you make of her stepping aside and what it creates here?
Well, I didn't know Governor Kugler, Adriana Kugler, is a very respected colleague of mine who I've enjoyed working with. I did not know that she was going to resign. I know, of course, that she was not at the FOMC meeting this week. And so I look forward to chatting with her at some point. I think it just brings forward. We knew that the governor served 14-year staggered terms. We knew that Governor Kugler's term expired at the end of January, and so the president would have the opportunity to fill that vacancy then. This, of course, brings that forward several months. So that's the surprise, but the fact that the president would have a chance to make his own appointments, that's not surprising.
Today, Fox News commentators reacted in stun.
As y'all see, this president is firing people that's simply just not with his agenda. So as we see, he did not like the numbers that were reported. So he went and fired this lady. Now, she has been in this job and she's been doing this job for a very long time. This is the mess, y'all, that we up against. This is what we're up against.
Correspondent for Reuters, and Ankush Khadori, former federal prosecutor, now Politico magazine senior writer. And Jeff, let's talk about the firing of the BLS director. Administration officials are defending that today, as you heard there. Did all of Trump's economic team agree with this decision?
I don't have an answer to that, but they're certainly out defending it. I think it's fair to say that often President Trump's staff and top advisors have to come out and give a defense for issues or for decisions that the president makes on the economy and on other issues that they may not be 100% behind. Now, I'm wary of making a broad statement like that, but I'll give you one example. Certainly the president's criticism of the Federal Reserve Chief Jerome Powell has not been something that has been largely supported by Treasury Secretary Bessent. So I don't know the answer to your question in terms of whether or not they supported this firing, but it's certainly something that President Trump did and is in line with how he handles bad news, both economic and otherwise. When he sees something that he doesn't like, he is happy to act, and in this case, act by firing this person. And as Kevin Hassett was just explaining in the clip that you played, finding someone from within his own orbit to replace her.
And we also know he doesn't like being investigated. So, Jeff, now that Jack Smith is under investigation, what are you hearing about that? Is it one of the Epstein distraction methods that you've been writing about?
I have been writing about that, and the story that I wrote most recently about that basically said that President Trump's toolbox as a public figure, both before he was president and now that he's in office for the second time, has been quite effective at getting people to look elsewhere, to deny, to change the subject, but it just hasn't worked with the Epstein story. And that is largely because the drive for more information about Epstein and about those so-called files has come from his own base and the MAGA base and his MAGA supporters. So yes, is this another attempt to distract from that? Absolutely. Is it working? Not so far. That doesn't mean that it's not going to get some attention, but the Epstein story is not going away, and he has not quelled it by forcing or encouraging people to look elsewhere.
Ankush, former CIA Director John Brennan, an MSNBC contributor, and former FBI Director James Comey, who previously investigated Trump, are also under investigation. Both have denied wrongdoing. Has this show of force had any success in slowing down the criticism? Just respond there to what you heard. There's been criticism over Epstein. There's been criticism over the big, beautiful bill and the economy. Is this working to go after Trump's adversaries?
You know, that's not clear to me. I think it's hard to say. I mean, on the merits, I don't think it should work because these are very well-tread ground. I mean, they're still now, talking about going back and investigating or dredging facts up from the 2016 election and the Trump-Russia investigation. The FBI director has been out touting these things, and they're very marginal. The likelihood that they end up in a meaningful result or a meaningful sanction against these people that is credible with the public, I think it's fairly low. And I don't really get the sense that people are prepared to move on from Epstein. At least his core supporters have sort of latched onto this. And look, it may blow over eventually. And in fact, it probably will blow over eventually as sort of time goes on. But I don't think we're there yet.
Why is he struggling, Ankush, to kind of control this narrative as we've seen him try to do in the past more successfully?
I think for a couple of reasons. One is, honestly, the statements that he and his administration have been making in recent months. Now, the Wall Street Journal reported that in May, he was briefed by the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General that his name was in the Epstein documents. Ever since that happened, we've seen a whole series of evasions and deflections and non sequiturs and efforts to blame Democrats and the media, and I think that has just been fallen all flat. And then second, you have these two lines of inquiry, public-facing lines of inquiry that they've initiated. One, this effort to unseal grand jury transcripts, which I think we now effectively know will not produce much, if anything, new based on the witnesses that testified in that grand jury. And two, this effort to develop Ghislainemaxwell as a cooperator. And I think most, normal people realize that that is a very bad idea out of the gate. I saw a poll this week, in fact, that reported that among the public, only 4% of people supported the idea of pardoning Maxwell.
Jeff, President Trump attacked talk show host �R𝐸𝐵𝐿aine the God after he appeared on his daughter-in-law's Fox News program. Here's some of what he said.
I think there's a political coup going on right now in the Republican Party that people aren't paying attention to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that this Epstein thing is going to be a way for traditional conservatives to take their party back. This is the issue that has gotten the base riled up. The MAGA base isn't letting this issue go, and for the first time, they know they can, probably take their party back and not piss off the MAGA base. I think they're going to do that.
Awkward. So does he have a point there? Do you think that's what's happening?
I think it's way too early to draw that conclusion, but I think that it's not a message or an idea or a thesis that President Trump is happy to hear, and certainly not on Fox News on his daughter-in-law's program. And I think that's probably what drove the criticism that he directed back at 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿aine. And again, this is in line with what we were saying earlier. President Trump is not someone who likes to be criticized. He feels that there should be focus on his accomplishments. And listen, whether you agree or disagree with President Trump's policies, he has a lot of accomplishments for sure. But he also has a lot of things that are hanging around his neck politically. And 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿aine went into a few of them. In addition to the one that you just played with regard to Epstein, he also talked about the economy and some other issues that may hurt support for President Trump in the midterms and for the Republican Party going forward. So is there an opportunity for conservatives to take back the party? And when I say conservatives, I mean the more traditional conservatives that he's referring to. Maybe, but we're just a few weeks into this. It's pretty early to say for sure that that's what's going to happen.
Ankush, your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with Jeff's assessment that it's too early to tell. And in fact, the Epstein issue has attracted a lot of attention. I think one reason it's staying in the news is because these lines of inquiry they've initiated are not developing, and in fact, developing more negative news stories over time. But, Trump has a long history of scandals that his core base is forgiving, going all the way back to the Access Hollywood tape. And I'm sure Jeff and I could tick off many more, and you too. Scandals that some people thought would sort of end his political career, January 6th, for instance, and did not. So I think it's always wise when you're dealing with Trump to maintain a healthy level of skepticism that the latest scandal will be the thing that craters his support. I mean, historically, that core base of supporters, whether it's 30, 35%, have rallied around him after these various scandals.
There is a reason why he's earned that moniker Teflon Don. So we'll see if it sticks this time. Jeff Mason and Ankush Kadori, thank you so much for being with us today.
And I think Trump should just really go to hell. All he's doing is picking up the economy. He's not fixing anything. He's finding ways to scheme, and he is finding ways to scam. That's all Trump is doing. He needs to go somewhere. And unfortunately, you guys, you decided to hire this criminal thug, and this is who we got in the White House. Now, while Trump is lying, saying that it's all these jobs out here, ain't no damn jobs out here. Nobody is hiring. In fact, they're laying people off thanks to his criminal ass.
A red day on Wall Street after President Trump did what he's famous for, firing people. This time, the head of labor statistic, 𝐸𝐵𝐿, who Mr. Trump says, without evidence, isn't reporting accurate numbers. 𝐸𝐿 not commenting. It comes after the Labor Department reported fewer jobs than expected were added in July, while also revising down by 258,000 the number of jobs created in June and May. On Truth Social, Mr. Trump posting, "We need accurate jobs numbers. I have directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately," insisting the economy is booming under Trump. The president, who had praised previous jobs reports from the same commissioner.
You look at the numbers today, the numbers were unbelievable. The numbers were incredible.
Today, offering this.
I believe the numbers were phony, just like they were before the election. And there were other times. So you know what I did? I fired her.
The weaker jobs report comes as the Trump administration announced a baseline 10% tariff for much of the world and higher for some countries, including Canada and Switzerland. Many economists believe the tariffs will fuel inflation, slow the economy, and cost jobs. The administration argues they will create more jobs. In San Antonio, Swiss chocolate shop owner Matthew Willis says the tariffs are already forcing him to raise prices.
My least expensive chocolate bar is $11, and it used to be $9. So it went up just under 20% already to account for it.
Tom joins us live. Tom, I know you have some more reporting about pressure from President Trump today on the Fed.
Yeah, that's right. One Federal Reserve board member appointed by President Biden has resigned to return to Georgetown University. And Trump today again pressured Fed Chair Jay Powell to cut interest rates, posting that Powell should be put out to pasture. Tom?
We thank you for watching.
And there y'all have it. This man is, again, effing up the world. Y'all done hired him. I hope you have somewhere or some other means of getting money other than a job, because with all the layoffs and people losing their jobs, and Donald Trump is only concerned about himself and people that's going to donate millions and billions of dollars. So there y'all have it.